to my YouTube channel. Sorry it's been a little bit of a while since the last update here, but like I said, I've had some trouble with Camtasia Studio, but I finally contacted TechSmith. They're the ones that, they're basically the developer of the product, and they helped me get it running now, so I can actually do some desktop screenshots and stuff like that, you know, full desk recording instead of being stuck with just fraps at this point, or my camera. So what I want to do is I want to kind of move into the next lesson here. I've getting a lot of requests for people wanting to know how to do sprites and stuff, so that's exactly where we're headed now. If you notice this, this is actually the same program that you've been seeing already, but I took out the background in it, and then basically I have like a little sprite animation, you know, still running around and all that. But this time, instead of being limited on his position, he can go all the way up and down the screen. And if you notice there, kind of in a corner there, there's another sprite here, a helicopter sprite. So I wanted to kind of show you some of the stuff you can kind of do with sprites in the assembly language. And this isn't going to be a full in-depth tutorial because we kind of did go over a lot of the sprite animation, but maybe I'll explain some of the other stuff that you might not caught in the original video. So let's kind of look at the code so you can kind of see what's going on. Okay, so I wanted to kind of show you what I added and everything here. Okay, so let me kind of go back up to the top here. I added stuff and I took out stuff. So, and these are all of the labels I have for the program. And I was going to add an interrupt, but I couldn't get them to work, so I kind of commented that out for right now. Maybe when I get that working later, we'll go over that later. But what I've actually done here is I added the new character right in here. You see where it says copter, basically the helicopter, and I stored them in the place where normally the missile would have been stored. And then I took out all these other ones because we don't have these active anyway. And these right here, for those who are just catching up, the character 1 through the character 10, those are the Pitfall Harry animations that you saw running on the screen earlier there. So, okay, this is still the character set. I left that in. I didn't change any of that. So that's because later probably going and teaching you some character set design, and I wanted to kind of leave that in the program because what this is going to be like a shell. This program is like a shell to work off of going forward, so we can kind of build things onto it basically instead of having to keep rewriting, you know, from scratch. Okay, so this is all kind of the same you saw right here we had before. The only thing you'll notice different is this right here. And let me explain for those who are new. This is actually Sprite. You just saw it earlier, but this is the Sprite Helicopter. That's the Sprite Heli, and this is his X position. And then this is the Sprite Helicopter's Y position right here. Oops, just erased the line there. Okay, this is the color of the helicopter. I'll just say color of the Sprite Heli. Things are real sensitive on typing. Okay, this right here is the sprite pointer for sprite number 2. So I'll just say sprite SPR for sprite pointer 2. Or number 2. There we go. And the 2040 is for sprite pointer number 1. So just keep in mind, sprite 2040 is for sprite number 1, or sprite 0, I'm probably saying that wrong. And then sprite 2041 is for sprite number 2. Now I wanted to kind of elaborate on that here. Since I do have full screen desktop again, I can kind of show you in the book where this is all coming from. The book I'm using, for those who want to know, it's the map in the Commodore 64. And I'm going to jump to that section here. I'm going to find it. It's right here. So right there, 2040 to 2047, that's where you find the sprite shaped data pointers, and that's going to basically where you're going to make your frames appear for each sprite. So if you draw a sprite in one position and draw another position, you would be moving through that position in memory location 2040 for sprite 0, and wherever you start the data at, if you start at 33, you would be at 33, 34, 35, 36, and you would move through those sprite animation frames. And obviously for Sprite 1, we're going to use 2041. So that's kind of how that goes. Okay, so the color, I may have showed this in the video before, but I'll show you again in the book here. 53288 is the color for all the sprites. And I wanted to show you that here in the book too. So it's right here. This PDF is available online, by the way, guys. I have that, and I'll put that on this channel too, or this page. But I have it on my editor pages as well. So you can see Sprite 0, Sprite 1, Sprite 2, Sprite 3, Sprite 4, Sprite 5. And they go all the way up to Sprite 7. So if I flip over here to the back, you'll see the rest of them right there. Sprite 6, Sprite 7. So you can have 7 sprites unless you use raster interrupts, and then you can split them up, and I think you can have as many as 64, if not more than that. So, okay, so the next thing here in the program, I wanted to show you, now that we have a new sprite in position here, we also need to store a place where he's going to appear at. So I set up a new pointer, or a new pointer, but a new byte area for sprite number 2. And that's actually right down here. I think it's down here. Let me see. Well, actually, you know what? No, what I did here is I stored took 100 his location for X, or 120, stored his horizontal position, and I took 100, stored his Y position. I didn't move him because Sprite, the helicopter, is not moving. I had it moving earlier, but it didn't look very correctly, so I took the animation out. But I can put it back in and show it to you later. What it kind of interferes with the program if you don't have, you know, interrupts going on to run in the background. But I wanted to show you that at least. So let's kind of go in. We'll change some other things here. We can probably change the size too. I don't remember which location that is. Okay, let's see here. And let me show you this before I go into that. People are probably going to want to know, you know, how are the sprites being designed and stuff like that. Like, I have another book here I could show you. Get it out here. This is how a sprite is actually made up on the Commodore 64. It's I think it's 24 by 21 frames, or 21 by 24. And if you look there at the top, you see 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. You calculate those values together, and then they kind of start over there again, 128, 64, 32, and then they kind of start over again. So you calculate those values. That's how you make up your sprite data, basically. So that's the area where you draw the sprite at and everything. So let me see what else here. I was going to see if we could change the size of the sprite. So horizontal position. Let me see here. I don't exactly have these all memorized on the Commodore. I'm pretty much used to like the Atari when it came to like their player muscle graphics and stuff, but let's have to catch up on the Commodore here. I know it's here somewhere. Sprite multicolor, sprite to foreground, display priority. I think we're getting closer. Horizontal expansion, I think this might be it. Let's see. Yeah, this is it right here. So I'm going to actually expand the helicopter and show you real time what happens when I do that. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to just set this register, which is location 53277. For those who want to see where I'm getting this, it's right here. So, byte horizontal expansion register. So that allows you to make the sprites larger than they normally would appear on the screen. So if you want to expand Sprite 1, which is bit 1, we have to mess with and change bit 1, it says right here. So double width is 1, 0 is normal. So we'll make it a 1. And then we'll store it in that location. And I'll just write that in here. Or Sprite 1, horizontal expansion. Okay, so there's the Sprite horizontal expansion. Let's go ahead and run it and watch how big the helicopter. He should have been, if it worked, he should be bigger. Uh-oh. Let's see here. It says double one with double white sprite. Oh, you know what? We changed ours. We didn't change his. So he must be Sprite 1 and this must be Sprite 0. So that's what happened. Our man is bigger now. See, our man actually got bigger. So something happened. We just didn't change the helicopter, but you can see the man's larger now. We could change the helicopter. We just need to specify the correct bit to do that. Let me go back. So we could try, let's see, 0. I'm curious to see what 2 will do. Let's try 2. That's it. So 2 makes the helicopter bigger, and see the man's back to a regular size again, basically. So. Okay, so let's change the color of the helicopter so you can kind of learn how to change the colors. It's all pretty simple, just like I just showed you in the program, but just for those who want to see. Okay, so this is the color right here, so we just change this register to whatever color we're going to make the helicopter. I don't have the colors memorized. I'm going to try 12 and see what that does. Probably like a green or something. That's like a gray. So see, we just changed the color of the helicopter now. Okay, now I'll show you how to move the helicopter around. I did show you that earlier, but I'm going to show you in the program again so you can kind of get the hang of it here. So we have him positioned right there. I'm just going to kind of move him more toward maybe the center or toward the bottom or something like that. And the horizontal position is right in this one. So this controls where he's going to land at as an X position. So we'll set it to maybe 150, and Y is how far up and down on the screen the helicopter's gonna appear. So we can do something. Let's try 200. That might put it a little bit farther down, but we'll see where that. Oh, I know where that's at because 170 is probably right where the man's at. We could just try that for now. So see, now he's right down by the man. So. But the man runs and gets into the helicopter. Okay, the sprite also for the helicopter is not in multicolor. Notice that it's still one color while my man has more than one colors. That's because I haven't set up a sprite here that's actually in multicolor. I haven't changed the bits to reflect that. Okay, so some of this other stuff might be a little bit longer if I went into it, but there are sprite collisions you can do. I'd have to show you how to program that, and you basically have to make it check as it's running across the screen and then it hits a collision or something like that. But here's where the register for the collision is stored at, just for those who want to know. I'll set it to 0 to show you the start off here, and maybe later we'll add it in. Heck, I might even do it now. So when you want to have no collision, you take 0 and you store it into 53278. That will check to see if there's a collision going on. Basically, how's he running into anything. Now, if you want to do a collision, we can, but I'd have to stick it somewhere in here. It'd have to be like right after here somewhere, basically. I'm going to set it down here because I don't want to cross over those boundaries with the other stuff I have here. So I kind of moved everything down here to the bottom. There's the up, there's the down. So here's where I had earlier had the sprite moving on the screen. So we'll put it right. I guess I can put it underneath here and just say sprite. We'll just call it COL for collision. And then what you want to do is you want to check that register and see if there's a 1 in it. And you probably just do 1 or greater, basically. And if there is, that means sprite hit. We'll just say sprite hit. That means basically the sprite was hit. If not, we'll just return off and do nothing. So if the sprite is hit, if this works successfully, I'm going to try to change the border color here. So sprite is hit. Then we'll just say we'll increment. Trying to think what color the border is right now. Maybe flash the border or something like that. Let's see if we can just do it this way maybe. 53,280, then we'll do a JSR pause, and then try to flip it back. It might go too fast where we might not see it, but I'll try to hopefully make it work here. Okay, so what I just basically did here is this is the border color for the screen. I'll just say border screen color. And this is obviously a pause, and this is just resetting the color back to black. This changes the color to whatever the 2 is. I don't know if that's red or what color that is. And this will flip it back to back after a slight pause. We can probably put a couple more pauses in here so so you can see it. And this right here is check-in. We'll just say check. Keyboard is so sensitive. For Sprite Collision. Okay, so that will basically check. So now what we're going to do is we're going to need to go to this routine to be able to see our collision in action. So Sprite COL is where we're going to JSR to. Let me make sure that this is right before I do. It is Sprite COL. Just want to make sure it's not going to crash here anywhere. Okay, Sprite COL is what we're going to use. I hope this works. I haven't tested this. Now, what I just realized is we want to make it so that when he's moving, he's going to have a collision. So we want to stick it inside of his movement routines. For right now, I'll just have it on the left and the right. So I'll stick it inside of here, basically. So we'll enter here. Oops. I entered in the wrong place. I need to enter right here. And just say JSR Sprite COL. There's one place we can do it. And then we're going to go down the right position because we're only going to check it on those angles only for now. And then we'll do it right there. JSR has jumped the subroutine, by the way, guys. For those who want to know. And it's the same in BASIC as saying go sub to that line, basically. That's the easiest way to look at it. Man, this thing is so sensitive. Like that. So let's go ahead and test it. See how we do. No, I'm going to save this too. I don't want to lose any of this stuff just in case something that's actually working here. Okay, so right now, well, it looks like it's working, but the problem is it's already setting a collision before he's even colliding. So I don't think we should probably do greater than equal. I think we're probably just going to have to make it say equals 1, because what he's doing is right now that sprite is colliding with itself. So we don't want the sprite to collide with itself. So we want to probably set it to like 2 or something greater. I think that's what the helicopter is. So I have to go back down here again. Eventually I want to put these online where people can just go ahead and download the source code for the D64 files, but I'd like to get some things actually working. And okay, so the collision's still on the guy right now, so I wonder why that is. I have it checking right now. Let me show you that here. So when the Sprite Collision is being checked at 2 or greater, that's what this means. Branch carry set means it's greater or equal to 2, then it's hitting a collision. But somewhere here it's still colliding with our guy. So I'm just going to make this say branch equals and see if that works instead of BCS. I think you're supposed to use branch equal anyway, so we'll probably have to guess at the number because I don't really know exactly which one it is, but let's see. It's not 2, so let's try and play with the numbers here. My problem is I don't know if this helicopter is Sprite 0, 1, 2, 3, or what it is. So we're just going to have to kind of guess at it here. I'm going to try 1. Alright, okay, I already tried 2. Now we're going to try 1. So 2. It ran right through it. Okay, so it's not that one. Let's see here. I told you I didn't think it would be easy to do this because I haven't ever really tested collisions on the Commodore. I don't really know. I'm not familiar all the way with how they work, just somewhat. It might even be a 0. Let's see. Let's try 0 anyway. See what that does. No, 0 is actually the sprite. This is our sprite character. He's 0, so that's why it's going off all the time because he's colliding with himself basically. So maybe we'll try 3. They're funny to get to work once you learn how to use them. But once you get them working, they're pretty cool. There it is. Okay, so it's 3. So the helicopter is 3. So now see when we're touching them, it's basically changing the border color, just like we set up in the program. So it's a little bit of work, but at least we got it working. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this. You can speed up your saving too, so it runs real fast. I haven't seen any harm in doing that yet, so. Okay, now we have them saved. So let's see what else we can kind of do with this here. We can obviously move them. I did mention we were going to move them. But the thing is right now, I have a move routine which is right here. This is going to increment the helicopter and move it forward. The only problem is we need to set it up like somewhere inside of, I could have it moving while our player's not moving, but as soon as our player moves, it'll stop the helicopter. That's why we need to eventually set it up in an interrupt, but I can't get those to work yet. So I'm going to show you, I just forgot what that name of that routine was here. Let's go back down there and look at it again here. Okay, so it's called Move Sprite 2. So we need to turn, I might already have it turned on here at the top, but we just need to go back up there and change it there. It's up in the joystick routine, so for those who want to know. Oops, I think I just passed it. Right here. Okay, so I just basically commented it out earlier, so let's go ahead and see it moving. Now I'm not moving the joystick, you'll see it moving. It's moving pretty fast because we don't have a delay on it. As soon as we move our player, it stops and it starts again. Now the only way to fix that is to set up a delay directly outside the loop, where you would basically set it up right here. Actually, no, we don't have to set it up here. We can just set it up inside of the routine. Because that's where it's jumping to anyway, so we want to do it right inside of there. Oops. So we'll set up inside of here. We'll test that out. F4. There you go. See, it's moving kind of funny right now, though, too. You notice how it's kind of like pausing and stuff like that. That's why interrupts are so important. Once you get an interrupt going, I could be moving like this, and it could still be moving on its own. But for some reason, my interrupts are still not working yet. So now if you want to move it the other way, all we have to do is reverse the direction in the same place we just were. So we have increment right here. This stands for increment x2. We just basically say DEC for decrement, and I'll turn it the other way. See, now it's moving toward me. Looks more natural now because that's the way it's actually facing. Okay, so let's jump back out of here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you how to move it on the Y direction. And basically Y2 is where I already have it stored it. So I'm going to say increment Y2. Everything else can remain the same, except we have to change this, which is, this right now is the X register, so you just, 53251 would be the Y register for the Sprite 1. And then compile. Oops, I must have done something wrong here. Let's see. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I did need, my bad. I need to change that too because I was trying to take X2 and put it in there, but we never done anything with X2, so it was basically remaining stationary. So it'll work now. Now it's moving up and down, see? Or it's moving from down, from the top to the bottom. Now we'll make it go from the bottom up just by doing the same thing and changing that operand. Oops. So instead of having increment, you decrement on the Y. And you can leave this the same because it's still going to be at Y2. So this time we'll decrement. Now I think I'll try one more thing and I'll show you another way you can get it moving too. Now it's moving up and down. Or down to up, so. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to put this back to increment. And what I'm also going to do is we're going to move one direction and we're going to move the other direction. So we're going to increment X2 and we're going to store that in its X location. Or X location or the horizontal location. I'll say horizontal for Sprite 1 or whatever Sprite that is. And this is the vertical. Now you'll see it moving at a diagonal direction. If I've done it correctly. There you go, it's moving diagonally now. That's how you get the animation, or not the animation, but how you get movement going on in your screen and everything. So, for those who want to know how sprites, they're pretty easy to work with. You can also do Sprite Foreground Collision, but I'm probably not going to do that right now because I didn't want to really. I wanted to keep things consistent to one or the other. I'd have to start drawing stuff on the screen and show you how it could collide with. Actually, you know what? There is one thing on the screen where I could probably make it work because it's got the message. When I run the program here, you'll see. Oops. It's already got the. Actually, it erases it, but it starts with the message here, but it ends up erasing it because I erased the screen. That was my fault. So, probably shouldn't have erased it so quickly. Well, let's see what else we can do with it then instead of just messing with that, I guess. I don't know if there's much else you can do with the sprites. You can make them big, you can move them around, animate, but I have to set up a lot of different frames for the helicopter, and I don't really have any. This was a helicopter I found in one of my programs, so I didn't really have the graph for the helicopter to be able to animate it in any way. And one way we could probably do it is we could probably change the propeller or something, maybe shrink it or something like that. That'd be about the only way I could really think to do it, but other than that, I think this is about it for the sprites. I didn't see anything else that we could really do with them. So this is going to be a short one. I want to kind of break them up so you can kind of learn stuff step by step, and then maybe next we'll go into like the screen graphics and stuff like that, and we'll kind of build the basis for either a demo or a game here, depending on where this goes. So, anyway, I just now found another one though. This one says Sprite Vertical Expansion. Let's mess with that. I already have an idea. I know what that's going to do. It's going to expand the sprite at a vertical level. So we're going to kind of stretch them, make them taller. I'll show you that one here too. And in the book, It's right here. Oh, come on. So 53271 Sprite vertical expansion register. So okay, so we're right back where we were in Sprite Collision, so we're going to set it right after this one. So we just change the size, and I have to make sure I get the right sprite. So earlier when we changed it, we used 2, so it should be 2 again. And we just store it in the 53271. All goes well, it should stretch the helicopter. Somebody will probably get stretched. Yeah, there it is. It's kind of bigger now. So it looks kind of natural now. It's kind of like bigger than a man. Helicopter would obviously be bigger than a man, so there we go. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. I'm going to go ahead and save this again. And for those who don't know, if you want to save your game, you just hit the Commodore key, which is next to the 1 key to the left of it. And then once you press that button, you would press the E key, or not the E key, the W key for write. The E key will load in your source code, and the W will write it. Okay, there we go. Alright, so we got the sprite size stretched and everything. You can also make them pass behind each other too. That would probably be hardly noticeable unless I make this sprite stationary again, because you're not going to see it if it's moving very quickly. But you can make it pass forward and behind your player. That's just called the priority. And trying to see which register that's stored in here. I just saw it a second ago here. It's in 53275. So let's see currently if it's passing behind or in front of the player here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the sprite animation so we can actually see it. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of hard to see it, guys. So we'll stop the helicopter moving again here. Just comment out this line to do it. Then I can kind of run up behind it and look at it. Okay, so right now he's running in front of the helicopter. So let's just see if we can make him run behind it. See how he's like directly in front of it? You can still see the player. And when we put it behind, the player should disappear somewhat behind the helicopter. Alright, so go back to this line. And once again, I know I didn't show you, but I'll show you in the book. Here it is. It's 53275. Sprite to foreground display priority register. Alright. So, we just basically set a value to do that. So where was all my other stuff? Up here. Okay, so let me document this one too, by the way. This was the Sprite vertical expansion. Okay, so it should be 2 again, or something like that. 53275. Okay, let's see if we got anything going on here. That looks like he's still in front of it, so we need to figure out which one to change. And I think it's going to be 0. I think that was what our sprite was 0. Hopefully I'm getting the hang of this now. Nope, he's still in front of it. Alright. Let me kind of read what it says here. Sprite 0 foreground, 0 appears in front of foreground. Looks like we have to set it to a 1 or something. Bit 1. So we'll just keep playing with the values until we find it, like usual. I'll just kind of go through them one by one here. I don't know if I just did 1 or not, but we'll do it that way. It's probably going to be 2. I think you have to match it for the sprite that's on the screen currently. Okay, let's see. They're going to make this one a little bit harder, aren't they? Alright, let me see here. Here's spot. Trying to see if we need to check the position or can we just set it and change it. I think I went through all of them now. Shouldn't be too many other ones left. Yeah, probably something else I need to do with this. It says once the interrupt signals that a collision has occurred, then we can check the Sprite Foreground collision register. Bit 1 pair multicolor graphics must consider display background color. Sprite to foreground display priority register. It might not. That might not be the. Oh, you know what that? That's not sprite to sprite. My bad. That's actually sprite to foreground. So that's like if you have text on the screen or something. So we need to find the one for priority for sprite to sprite, basically. I was looking at the wrong one there. Horizontal position. Most significant sprite positions. I can probably show you about the most significant stuff, but I went over that in the other video, but I could probably demonstrate it with the helicopter and show you how to change that most significant byte. We'll come back to that in a minute. Sprite enable register. There's a sprite scrolling. What's this 53272? Sprite multicolor registers, horizontal. Foreground color register. Where's sprite to sprite? Sprite. Use. There's sprite multicolors. Somewhere I missed it here. So I'm looking for priority. So I don't have them all memorized, guys. You think it would be close to the 53277. It's a sprite horizontal expansion. Or close to the other one, the 53275. Trying to see if any of these other ones use priority, because sometimes I share them. That's 53274. These other ones are interrupt masks. Well, if we can't find it, we can't find it. Light pin. Oh, I wonder if it's in 53265, because that's usually a larger. It covers a lot of different things. It goes fine scrolling, blanking the screen, bitmap graphics. Apparently it's not in that one. Well, I don't know where it is, so I'm going to go into the next step here and show you how the register that I've been wanting to show you, like when your sprite runs across the screen and he gets so far over here, if you don't set this register here, he'll flip back over there early. It's at 53264. I don't know what they call it in here, but that's the register. It's called the most significant bits of sprites 0 to 7. So we're gonna try to set that for the helicopter. So I'm gonna get the helicopter moving again. And now observe what happens when you see the helicopter moving. Okay, first before we move the helicopter here, well, let me turn it back on here. I'm going to also turn off the vertical movement helicopter and just move it horizontally so you can see this in action. It'd be easier to see it that way. So just basically to turn off the top one here, I actually already have it set here, so I'm just going to go ahead and change this one, and this will be the X. This would normally be the Y, but I'm going to comment this out. Okay, so we got that commented out. So 53, 248, 49, 250, that's the vertical. Not the vertical, but the horizontal. Need to change this too, so it makes sense. Come on. 53, 251 is vertical. So, okay, so that would get it moving. Now, let me show you again what I'm talking about. We'll get that running here. Now, see where it's moving at? Watch where my man's at here. My man can go farther than this helicopter can, so he can go all the way over to here. But notice it can't go over that far, so it can't. It's hitting that line, that area of 255, and it's flipping it back to 0. It's a location we need to basically set it so the helicopter can move forward. This is probably going to take a little bit of logic here, but let's see if we can do it. It's very similar to what I did earlier. You have to check to see where the sprite's located in it. So since this is the movement routine, this is where we want to check it at. So actually, I need to increment. I'm going to have to stick this one down in here. That's why I don't always like to stick them on the same line. So we're going to need to check 53, 264. And we're going to compare it. Or we can AND it. It doesn't matter. AND is just another way to check the bit in it. So I guess we'll AND it. And what we're looking for, I think it was Sprite 2. So if it's greater than that, basically if it equals that value there, then that means we've hit the priority register. So we're going to flip heli, or instead of flipping, we can just say flip MSB. Flip heli MSB or something. Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So what we'll just say is continue sprite onto the screen basically. So he'll continue going past the screen there if it works successfully here. So we basically say if we check the register, I checked the wrong one here. We need to check, my bad, X2 to figure out where X2 is on the screen. So once 2 is at 255, so here's what we need to do, is compare 255 or greater, then we're going to flip back the other one so that it goes back to the 0, or sets the 53 264 to 1, and 53 250 will go back to 0. So we're going to say CONTSPR, load the accumulator with 1, and store it in 53 264. So that will flip them, but now I'll show you what happens. Just leave it like this just to show you, and you'll observe that the helicopter will get stuck on the right hand side because once it reaches a certain point we need to flip it back again. But I wanted to show you how this works anyway, so we're going to make it, if it works successfully, you should check X2, reaches that, it should go over here and flip it. So let's see what happens. See, it's stuck over there right now because 53264 is set to 1. To get it back over here, we need to check make sure it equals somewhere like over here where the man's at, and then flip it back to 0. So okay, so what we'll do, we'll go in here, we'll check it. So we're checking X2 now, if it's at 255. The thing is also, is when it's on the other side, we want to check the 0 location, but only when it's flipped to the other side. So this means we need to set a flag, and I told you this would be kind of long and tedious to do this. We have to set up a flag in the program to check it that way, just kind of like how I did before here. So right here I had flag and flag 2. Oops, didn't want to do that. You'd have to set it up somewhere in here and just say like flag for SPR2. Shucks. Try to get away from flags. So basically we're setting the MSBs. So MSB for Sprite 2, I guess we could do something like that. I'm going to write this down so I don't forget this one. I don't want to have to keep coming backward and forward all the time. So what I called it here, MSB SPR2. Okay, now we go back up in the program. This part's boring, but this is necessary to get the animation looking correctly on the screen. So down here, once we have that first MSB set, we're going to store it right in here into the value that we just, or the register that we just set up, MSB SPR2. So it's going to keep track of track MSB for Sprite 1. So now we know the flag here is set to 1, so we can check it up here now. So we're going to basically load the accumulator, MSB SPR2, and check to see if it's got a 1 in it. If it does, what that means is the player is on the right side now. So he's moved over to the right. So if he's at the right, then we can go into a routine to check where his X position would be at. Because you don't want to check his X position at all times, because he could be on the left-hand side and his X position could be moving into 0 range over there, and then that would mess everything up. So we want to make it check only when he's on that side. So we'll say check Sprite to area or something. I don't know what to call it. It's kind of a long name. I hate these long names, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Check SPR2 area. So now this is saying that the sprite's on. He's somewhere way over here, like where I showed you earlier, and now he can kind of continue off the screen. So we want to try to figure out where his X position's at. So we want to check it and see how far it's going to go this time. Because remember, it flips back to 0 once that reaches 255 across the screen, and it stays in that corner as long as you keep the MSB set to 1. So I know this is going to be a little bit more advanced, but hopefully this works for us. So we'll compare it to like 70, that might be far enough. And if it's greater than that, then we want to flip that thing back. We're going to set the sprite back to the other side. So this time we'll just say flip SPR2. That should flip them back. And if not, it shouldn't do anything. So we go down here, and we need to set up that new register we just created. Oops, at flip SPR2. Now remember, this is checking that he's over here somewhere now. So he's at 70 position, say he's over here somewhere. And if he keeps going, then we need to flip this 53264 back to 0. So that's what this is taking care of right here. If it works correctly, it should work. If not, at least we tried, right? I have a feeling it's going to get stuck somewhere, but we'll see. It's a little tricky setting them up. Oops, I got an error message. I didn't see what line it was. I hate they go so fast you can't see it too when it's compiling. So 396. Somewhere up here. Oh, it's probably not seeing this one. Let's see. Yeah, it probably stuck an extra one. I knew it was going to do that. It's very sensitive on the keyboard. There we go. Now let's see. It got stuck over here, so it's still not reaching the right area there somewhere. We need to make it continue on from there. So I said, I told you, it takes a little bit of work to get them working. You kind of figure out where the X position's at. So right here is moving it. X2 is at 255. Yes, it is. Then we go to CONTSPR. And here set this. It flips over there successfully. And then this sets the one. I think we have to set this back to 0. That's what I forgot to do. Let me just I'm just going to double check my logic again here. So now we're at the 255 location. We flipped the area over. Now we want to check the new position here. So where are we checking the... we're checking it right here. So if it's greater than 255, we're checking it here. The question is it always checking this? If it's not always checking this function right here, this routine, then it's not going to work. I think that might be part of our problem. Let's see. Took me a little bit of trial to get, trial and error to get it working the first time. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time. I know I'm going to bore people with this, but this is one of the crucial points you'll need to understand about sprites if you want them to go all the way across the screen. So the X2 is at 70, then flip it. Let's just run it and see if it gets stuck again anyway. I have a feeling it will, but let's see. Yeah, I knew it's going to get stuck over there. So it's probably not reading that area anymore, so... Trying to remember how I did it before. It's greater than 250. I could probably make it check it up here too. It doesn't really matter where I stick it at. So if it's X2 is set, so if this one is set, it should be checking this. So I think that's what I forgot to do. So we need to check MSB right here. So it's at a 1. So we check this one. Now we should be able to check this too and see where it's at. And if it's at greater than 70, it should flip him back over. SPR2. Somehow he got stuck. I'm probably not going to play with this a whole lot because I don't really want to spend a lot of time on this because, I mean, this might be one of those logic errors I need to really think through. As I'm kind of training stuff, it's hard to really think and train at the same time. So if it's at 255, it flips over. And we know the flip works because well, we think it works because it stops there, but that might not mean, doesn't mean it's working either. So 255 or greater, then go here. I think that's probably what I did wrong. If it's going to 255, no, I'm going here and flipping it to 264. I could probably just check it up. I have a feeling you have to check it inside of here. So maybe I could just say JSR to that routine and have it checked that way instead. That may be what we need to do. So if it's at 1, we normally checked it up here. I can take this out now. Delete these extra lines. Okay, so now we're checking 255. We're going to be able to go down and check this routine. We're going to be, now since we're at the MSB is set to 1, we're going to go in and we're going to check to see where 70 is at. So that should work. If it gets greater than 70, then it should flip it back here to 0. And set MSB back again. So trying to see, this is 255 x2. It might not work, but maybe I'll get it working and show it in another video or something. But yeah, it's still getting stuck over there. Yeah, my man's doing something really weird now. I don't think I'm going to spend much more time on it because like I said, I could sit there for hours going over this, but it's not something I really worked out. It just takes a little bit of time to really figure out how to do that accurately. Sorry about that, guys, but I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time on that. But I showed you some of the things. We went over collision, how to change size, movement, position, colors, and all that kind of stuff. The priority, well, we didn't get that working either, but check in the book. I know it's in there somewhere. I just don't really know how to do it at this time, guys. So hopefully this was helpful enough at least to get you understand how to get sprites on the screen and, you know, get your stuff kind of moving and stuff like that. And I hope you enjoyed this program as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. So if you're interested in subscribing, you can go ahead and subscribe. And I just want to thank you for watching and have a great day. I was trying to stop the program. It won't let me stop when this thing's running, so I need to turn this off. Wow. It turned off my... This is the strangest thing I've ever seen. It's like it turned off my controls, and I can't see how to stop this thing now. I'm just going to keep playing with it and try to figure out how to stop it. I've never seen anything like this before, but this is really strange. And my Camtasia just shut down. So I'm trying to stop Camtasia, but I don't know how to do it. Because I usually right-click on it and stop it. But it won't let me now, so I don't know. It took away the menu where I normally would stop it at.